Revolution Radio proudly presents, live from the heart of the Blue Ridge, Roanoke, Virginia. It's the Just Bernard Show with host Bernard Alvarez. Join Bernard as he shares topics that reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience, including world liberty, the esoteric, suppressed technologies, spiritual ascension, and human consciousness. Humanity has awakened, and our time has come to realize our full potential. And now, live from the Star City, your host, Bernard Alvarez.
So let's talk about today's consciousness talk. Today's magical consciousness talk is called As I Will It, So Mote It Be, the Power of Words. Now, why did I pick this? Well, it always happens at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're wide awake and can't sleep and all this inspiration starts flowing. And it hit me that, many of us, a lot of people, no matter what religion or spiritual path you follow, we all pray or meditate or do spells or intentions or whatever it is that you want to call it. And I happen to be thinking about this meme that we have going around on my page. It says, I forgot what it is. Words are energy. They call it spelling for a reason, or words cast spells. They call it spelling for a reason. And I kept, going on into that, thinking about it. What does it mean? What does it stand for? And I've been very, not only curious, but I guess investigating, researching how a lot of these sacred sites and megaliths around the world have some acoustic frequency to them to help alter, your state of consciousness and whatnot. And of course, I started going into vibrations and frequencies and how different words have different frequencies and how words within our mind, the language that we use within our mind affects our consciousness. And of course, the whole thing of, God spoke and, the word created the universe or whatever. I'm totally misquoting that, but you get the gist and the subject that I'm getting into here. So I thought, let's do a talk about this. Let's talk about the power of spoken word, and not only spoken word, but the language that we use within our mind. When I start working with a student, one of the first things I tell them is to get rid of the word want, and to get rid of the word think, and to get rid of the word should. The reason why I do that is because it has to do with the language that goes on in our mind, all that mental chatter that we do. And, shooting people don't like to be shooted. There's a certain energy when you say, you should do this, or I should do this. And, it's almost like shaming somebody into doing something. So I always say, get rid of the word should. The word think for me is a sign of not being able to make up your mind, being indecisive. I think I want this, or I think you should. So there's a certain frequency, and you see where I'm going here with. I hope you see where I'm going with this. The reason why what I replace the word think with is I feel. I feel I would like to. I feel it would be in your best interest to do this, and you can see where the frequency and the vibration changes. It's more welcoming. It's more inviting. Anyway, we're going to go a lot deeper than just the tone. So I want to start off by reading this very short article from Dr. Haider Zahid. And his article is called The Power of Spoken Words. It says, words are singularly the most powerful force available to humanity. We can choose to use this force constructively with words of encouragement or destructively using words of despair. Words have energy and power with the ability to help, to heal, to hinder, to hurt, to harm, to humiliate, and to humble. And that's a quote from Yehuda Berg. Considering the powerful force of the words we utter, we must discipline ourselves to speak in a way that conveys respect, gentleness, and humility. One of the clearest signs of a moral life is right speech, which is also a part of the Buddhist beliefs. There's seven principles, I believe. Forgive me if I'm misquoting. But right speech is a part of the Buddhist path as well. Perfecting our speech is one of the keystones of mature people. Before speaking, take a few moments to contemplate what you will say and how you will say it, while considering the impact they will have on the listeners. And we can go into the whole idea of the frequency, the ripples, and so on, and what it returns to you energetically. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But the article continues: be kind to all and speak words that are beacons of inspiration, enthusiasm, and encouragement to all. Kind and sweet words are always music to the ears of the listener. Many people are compelled to give voice to any passing feeling, thought, or impression that they have. They randomly dump the contents of their mind without regard to the significance of what they are saying. When we talk about trivial matters, as in gossiping about others, our attention is wasted on trivialities. And let me tell you something. In my life, I lose interest very quickly. It's like, okay, why are you taking time in my brain for this trivial nonsense? Unless you're teaching me something or I'm learning something, or we're sharing energy. Uh, you know, I try to be very vigilant to what I give my attention to, especially as someone who works in the field of consciousness. My consciousness is my energy. So when we should speak with mindfulness in a way to solidify peace and compassion in our characters. Not only do our words matter, but also the tone which we use has a huge impact. There are certain rules that should guide all of our communications with others. Always speak the truth, avoid exaggeration, be consistent in what you are saying. Don't use double standards in addressing people. Don't use your words to manipulate others. And most importantly, do not use words to insult or belittle anyone. Uh, Thich Nhat Hanh, a contemporary Buddhist monk and global peace worker and writer, in his book, Being Peace, states: speaking honestly in any negotiation between individuals or groups is necessary. Speaking the truth in a loving way is also necessary. Han recommends only loving speech, even when we are communicating about our differences and disagreements. We must be lovingly honest. We must discipline ourselves to speak in a manner that conveys respect, gentleness, and humility. Gary Chapman, in his book, Love as a Way of Life, uses the vivid metaphor for words as being either bullets or seeds. If we use our words as bullets with a feeling of superiority and condemnation, we are not going to be able to restore a relationship to love. If we use our words as seeds with a feeling of supportiveness and sincere goodwill, we can rebuild a relationship in positive and life affirming ways. When we need to talk candidly about something difficult with another person, we must focus on the conversation with keen attention and purpose. During the conversation, we must listen patiently, speak tactfully, and tell the truth as we understand it. We must align our words, voice inflection and tone, eye expression, body language, and actions with our inner awareness in an honest exchange. That sounds like a lot to do, doesn't it? Anyway, I wanted to share that in order to it's really just scratching the surface of the power of words. What I'd like to move into now is the power of words for our own spiritual growth, our consciousness, our meditation, whatever it is that we're doing. And I'd like to start with that term, so mote it be. So I'm going to read, just to give you an example, I'm going to read a spell for how it's used in spell work. And this spell is for to enhance our psychic ability. Vision of future, present, and past, psychic spirit I do cast. To hear the unheard and see the unseen, psychic powers strong and keen. I open to see all with my third eye. Psychic bonds to me I wish to tie. Unbind my spirit and my mind, so that vision shall no longer be confined. Let my visions and dreams come before the rising sun. As I cast, let my will be done. Psychic powers, I invoke thee, and as I will it, so mote it be. So mote it be is usually used at the ending of a spell, and there's a reason for that. But let's go a little bit into where this terminology comes from. So mote it be is a ritual phrase that is used by Freemasons, ooh, Rosicrucians, ooh, and pagans, ooh. I'm kidding. Um, it means so may it be. So it is required. So it is, so it must be. And may be said at the end of a prayer in a similar way as Amen. And we can go into a whole nother history of Amen, but that would have to be a whole nother segment. Um, the phrase appears to be in the Hallowell or Regius manuscript, the earliest known document relating to a society of Masons in England, dating from the first half of the 15th century. Ever so quickly, though, I'm gonna drop off from our attention of Samoa B and just jump into Amen for a moment because I'd like you to research that. Um, for those of you that don't know, Amen is really it comes from the Egyptian Amun, where the Egyptian people used to use the name of their deity to end their spell work or their magical work or their prayers. But look that up. It's not exclusive to modern Western religion. Amen comes from Amun or Amun Ra, the god of the sun, that goes into the whole sun god thing. But let's go back to Samoa B and get a little more history on that. Most notably, of course, Aleister Crowley used "So Mote It Be" in some of his writings and claimed it to be an ancient and magical phrase, but it's very possible, as we know, he probably borrowed it from the Freemasons. In Freemasonry, "So Mote It Be" is the equivalent to "Amen" or "as God wills it to be." Those of us that are involved in neo-paganism or Wicca know that Gerald Gardner, the founder of modern Wicca, was also known to have Masonic connections. Although there's some question about whether or not he was a master mason, as he claimed to be, regardless, it's no surprise that the phrase turns up in contemporary pagan practice, considering the influence that Masonry had on both Gardner and Crowley, and well, many of the modern Western esoteric spiritual paths. Historically speaking, though, MasonicWorld.com has a reprint of a 1927 article that interprets the phrase as "the will of God be done." I think that this interpretation commits to the classical religious error of assuming my will and the will of God are one. And this is where the work comes in. This is where the whole shifting of our consciousness uh, has to align with this word or this phrase. For me, it's a very powerful phrase, but many times like this historical significance that I'm sharing with you, it is used as simply as amen. Amen. It's so much more than that. It is so much more than that. A look at the simple meaning of the phrase combined with Wicca and modern witchcraft's emphasis on empowering those outside the popular circle of power clearly indicates the phrase's proper meaning, as I've seen it used in numerous Wiccan rituals, as I will it, so mote it be. Can we end a spell with so mote it be and say it with the confidence of a pharaoh issuing a command. Now, this is where the magic comes in. If we have thought through the situation, if we are certain that we're doing is neither unethical nor trivial, and we're willing to accept responsibility for what we do, why shouldn't we come from the place of the divinity within us? It is said that we are God, Goddess. We are a piece of the whole. We are a piece of source. And when we are aligned with that source, and we are using our words, our spells, our prayers, our intentions, whatever law of attraction phrase you'd like to use, when we can confidently sit in that space of being aligned with source, of being aligned with the highest good of ourselves, of the people around us, of the world around us, it's imperative for me, it is imperative that we sit in the confidence of knowing that we are the masters and creatrix of our reality, the mistress, the God, the creator of our reality. And we can, by shifting our energy and by stating our intention, we are creating a new reality, and we must have that confidence to know that if we are going to live our lives in a way and not as popular culture says we must, at some point we have to stand up and say, this is what I want, this is how I live, this is how I will live, and this is what I value and that I do not. We we're coming up on a short break, so I really don't want to go too deep into this. But um, the reality of knowing who I am, and again, let's break down the term here. As I will it. Who is I? Who is I? Is I your ego? Is I the emotional state you're in at that particular moment that you're identifying with? Is I the story of your life? The story that we've ascribed to our lives. We all have a story, no matter how enlightened we are, no matter how awakened we are. We have the story in our head that we allow to identify with. Is that I? Is that the I that we're speaking of here? So if I will it, who's willing it? Is it your reaction to something? Is it an ego reaction? Or is I your alignment with your higher self? Is it inspired from your relationship to your higher self, your identification with your higher self? The higher self that is connected to the all, connected to source, that is the divine spark that lies within you. And do you have the ability to not only identify, to align with, and to sit in that space of connecting with the higher self, to sit in that space of being aligned with source energy? Can we confidently know that we are identified as that, and we're coming from that space? Um, Aleister Crowley broke down magic into three things. And, first off, let me just say I use these terms, black, white, and gray magic, in order to appease and communicate with the ego. In reality, magic is neither black nor white nor gray. It is completely neutral. It is what we put into it and what our intended result is that could fall under these particular categories of white, black, or dark. Because even within the black or within the gray or within the white, they can overlap each other many, many times. But going back to that definition, white magic is aligning and having, as Crowley said, having conversation with being in conversation with your holy guardian angel. In other words, it's being in relationship to the higher self, being in relationship to the divine, to source. So that's kind of where I'm going here. The idea of who is the I that is in conversation with our higher selves, that is in alignment with source energy. And what does that mean? What does it mean when we are in alignment? Do we have the clarity to know what is for the higher good?
And now, back to your host, Bernard Alvarez.
And welcome back to the Just Bernard Show here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And I am Bernard Alvarez, sharing with you today a special talk that I put together called As I Will It, So Mote It Be, The Power of Words. Picking up where we left off, I was speaking of the I. Who is the I? Are we in alignment with our higher selves? So let us say that we are working with our higher selves, we are working with our intuition, and we can sit in that place confidently. The next part of the phrase, as I will it, will is a very uh, often misunderstood word. When I look at the phrase "as I will it, so mote it be," will is with a capital W. Um, for me, again, it represents the will of the universe, the will of energy, the will of source, the will of my higher self, not the will of my lower vibrational self, my spoiled little brat that wants something. I will this to happen. The will that is in alignment with the universal principle, the will of source, for lack of a better term. So I hope that clarifies a little bit because many times people get confused with the idea of working to strengthen our will. Working to strengthen our willpower, that is kind of like lower energy work, for lack of a better term. For me, that's the way I see it. Um, there's a great connection with this is in 12-step recovery they say we turn our will over to the care of God, and that used to bother me until I realized that when I am in alignment with myself, I am in alignment with my true will, the will of the universe again. So when we're saying as I will it, that is not the ego self, that is the higher self, that is the will of the universe, and it's sitting comfortably and confidently in alignment with that source energy. It's important for us to understand that, again, I'm going to repeat this. It is important to understand that words have energy. And as we are releasing that energy, we are creating change within our mind, within the universe around us. Words have frequency. Sound has frequency that creates change. Many of us right now are kind of interested. Again, I'm very interested in the acoustic aspect of energy. There's a lot of stuff going around right now about cymatics. For those of you that don't know, cymatics is the study of frequency and how we can see, literally see. If you look up cymatics on YouTube, you can see how sacred geometry, sacred patterns are created through sound. Sacred geometry from the flower of life, sacred geometry in the Fibonacci sequence, sacred geometry from the universe itself comes from sound. So, it's fair to say, words have frequency. Frequency can alter and create specific realities. Words are not just elements of speech or writing. Going back to, spelling, they call it spelling for a reason. Words can be used to strengthen the effects of the art of directing and controlling energy. When we say something out loud, our words transform into frequencies and vibrations that we can literally use to direct energy. It is in knowing this that change is created. It is in knowing that and understanding that words are energy and that we can direct that energy to help, to harm or to help. It's our choice. Remember, what you send out will come back to you. This is one of the first steps of creating magical effects. A lot of times people give me a hard time because I say saying bad things or thinking bad things is a form of black magic. And people are like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean, cursing? Using curse words is a great example. Why do they call it curse words? Because you're cursing somebody. You're sending out negative energy directed at a particular person. And the same thing goes with our thoughts. When we're having negative thoughts, and don't get me wrong, we are all human beings. We all have bad days. We all get angry, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to say we have to be perfect in any sense of the word. If anything, I celebrate the idea of being human and empowering our human experience and enjoying the human experience. But if we have the objective clarity to understand that all those negative things that we say in our mind, all those negative things that we are saying to ourselves, like, oh, something horrible is going to happen. Oh, I know if I do this, this horrible thing is going to happen. To me, that is a form, light, call it light black magic, but I use that term very loosely to try to describe and look at from an objective standpoint that the mental chatter that we use and the negative words that we say out loud are energetic. People laugh at the idea that magic is real. If they only knew what magic really is and how magic is being used to control them, they would not be laughing. Many of us understand, especially within this movement, the consciousness, truth, awakening movement. We know the world is dominated by magic. We know that we are being influenced subliminally through the media. We know that marketers and advertising use they can call it marketing, but we all know, those of us that know that these are magical practices. In order for us to look at something a specific way, to feel something, to get an emotional response out of us. So I say, if we know this, if we are aware of this, why not learn how to use it to empower our own lives, how to help elevate humanity instead of oppressing it, and to teach ourselves to be able to see through the illusion and not be a responsive, oh, pawn of this so-called reactive matrix reality that we're in, but to be the creator of it. Until we train our eyes to see how magic is used to control us, in other words, until we can see through the illusion, we will never know how the world really works. We always talk about the elite or the Illuminati. And by the way, Illuminati should not be the term used, guys. It really shouldn't. There are good Illuminati, there are bad Illuminati. There are good Freemasons, there are bad Freemasons. Using that as an umbrella term is not doing us any favors. If anything, we've been duped and controlled into thinking and using this false idea of who the controllers really are. The controllers who pull the strings of politicians are well aware of how magic works, are well aware of the words that are used to bring out an emotional response, a reactive feeling or emotion. We hear buzzwords used in the media constantly, and that's just one easy example. Many of them, the quote unquote controllers, dark lighters, whatever you wish to call them, we all know this. Many of them actually practice the art of magic. We're very well aware of dark brotherhoods and everything from Skull and Bones to some of the other negative lodges that are out there, and some that have infiltrated the good lodges. Sometimes we refer to these as dark magicians, and we'll just use that to simplify things. Unfortunately, they like to use magic for power and evil purposes instead of using it to change the world into a better place. It is for that reason why I do these talks. It is for that reason why I feel we need to get down to the nitty gritty detail of frequency, of power, of understanding our language, understanding the language that we use, how we use it, what energy we are releasing, and most importantly, to be aware of the language within our mind. The most powerful thing in the universe is energy. We all know that. Energy gives us light, energy gives us life, energy helps the plants grow, helps the water to be water, helps us to be carbon life forms. We are energy. And if we learn how to control and direct this energy, we become the powerful people on the planet. Why do we think the controllers, the dark magicians, are so obsessed with magic and energy? So, as we learn to understand that, for me, it almost becomes a responsibility. It almost becomes a responsibility to be mindful of the words that I use, to be mindful of the language and the chatter that goes on in my mind. As I will it, so mote it be, for me, is probably the most powerful phrase in the English language, magically speaking. As I will it, as I will it, my higher self, I've developed the relationship with my higher self. I've developed a relationship with source. You have too, whether you know it or not. When we are in alignment with higher will, with higher frequency, we do have that confidence. We do have the ability to state something as simple as that short little psychic ability spell that I just did and know that it is done. So mote it be. What is so mote it be? So mote it be simply means it is done. It's done. It is real. It is manifested. The energy is released. It is manifested. We use this a lot in the work of intention when we talk about intention circles or the power of intention. It is ever so quickly. Let me share a little bit about the intention process, or at least this one aspect of it. One aspect of the intention process is to be able to visualize, to see, and to know within your mind that that which you are intending is happening presently. When I do an intention circle, one of the greatest shortcomings of any new person that's practicing this type of work is their idea that I wish that I will, or I am going to be a better person, I am going to be healed, I am going to have a new job. No, we have to sit in that space of aligning with will and knowing confidently that it is. I have a new job. I am healed. To sense, to know that it is done. Right there is the act of so mote it be. So imagine now the amazing results we can get from taking the steps of understanding how we have been manipulated, how society is being oppressed through the use of frequency, through the use of words. Call it programming, call it marketing, whatever you wish to call it. And then taking back that energy, taking back what I call the spiritual sovereignty and aligning with our higher self, aligning in source and using that clarity, the simple term of as I will it, so mote it be. I live in a world of enlightened, awakened, loving, and kind people. As I will it, so mote it be. It is done. I have created the thought form. It is in the universe. It is manifesting. It's already created. As above, so below. We speak of that term, another very powerful term. As above, so below. We've created just now a thought form on the astral plane or the etheric plane, the universal plane of consciousness, subconscious plane, collective unconsciousness. It is to manifest now on the material plane. As above, so below. The microcosm is the macrocosm. The macrocosm is the microcosm. It is to know these things. It is to know with confidence that we are powerful beings. We are energetic beings that are constantly creating our lives with every thought, with every word, with every action. If we can have the clarity to see where we have been manipulated by society, if we can have the clarity to see when we are catching the wave of energy, a false wave of energy, an illusionary wave of energy, when we can see that we're getting into that group think, be aware of that group think. When we can see clearly that we are spiritual sovereign beings, when we can see clearly the potential, and I mean the infinite potential, every word is magical. Every word. Every word we speak aloud, every word we say to ourselves in our minds, when we have the mindfulness, when we move into the mindfulness with this clear understanding that our words are frequency, that our words are powerful, we have the ability to create a beautiful world, a beautiful life. We have the ability to heal, and we have the ability to be sovereign. We must be aware. We must be aware. I want to do a little quote here from The Matrix. You'll appreciate this. Morpheus states, "The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now in this room, you can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth." Neo says, "What truth?" Morpheus says that you are a slave, Neo, like everyone else. You were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch, a prison for your mind. The Matrix is not just a movie. If anything, we could fairly say it was an experiment done by dark magicians to see how the people would react to a movie that was telling them the truth in a metaphorical kind of way. And when we see that, and when we know that we too have the ability to step out of it, that we too have the ability to sit into that place of source, that place of creator. Know that your words will change your life. Know that your thoughts will change your life. Know that you can heal or you can harm. The main reason why many people, well, I shouldn't say many people, they, quote unquote, they teach you how to spell words correctly is to make sure that each letter or geometry is arranged the same way every time you write something. This helps strengthen the magic effects of certain words. After you learn how to spell words, you are taught to cast those words, cast those spellings into sentences, phrases, and ideas. But we were never taught about their magical effects. The purpose of this is to prevent you from knowing the true intention of language. Dark magicians control mind by using magic spells, magic spelling. You can use it to free yourself. You can use the power of words to become spiritually sovereign, to heal, and to help us create the quote unquote 5 dimensional reality, to break free of this 3D matrix once and for all. I'll leave you with this one little um, advice. One of the most effective ways to protect your mind, and I believe this is important because we cannot be in alignment with our higher selves to do this wonderful work of as I will it, so mote it be, to become aware of how you're being controlled. For example, when a magician does a magic trick, the magician can fool you into believing that the trick is real. That's an illusionist. However, if you figure out how the trick is done, you can no longer be fooled because you know it is an illusion. In other words, you have become aware of the trick and it can't deceive you anymore. You learn the trick, you practice the trick, and you use it for good. The magic trick is similar to how dark magicians are using real magic to control your mind. Once you realize that magic is real and become aware of how dark magicians are using spells to control you, their magic spells lose their effect. Your awareness is the most powerful spiritual power that you have. Learn how to use it wisely, and no one will be able to control you. To learn how to use the power of your awareness wisely, you need to learn the right knowledge. With the right knowledge, you can increase and strengthen your awareness. With the right knowledge, you will have the ability to sit in alignment with source energy, with your higher will, and to manifest and intend whatever it is that you need in your life to live at peace, to be living fully healed, and to help heal the planet itself. We are all magicians. If you can speak, you are a magician. I don't care what spiritual path you follow. When you are releasing energy and frequency, you are performing magic. Use it responsibly. Know that so mote it be is an affirmation, and know that magic is all about direction of will and closing it with so mote it be. It is a good way to send your will for a higher purpose. If I have enough time, I don't know if I'm going to have enough time, but let me just end with this if I have time. So mote it be is a phrase used to declare your magical intent is in place. Speak it at the end of a spell or work of magic to affirm that your magic took effect. In order for this phrase to be effective, your will must be strong and your words must be true. You must know that it is done. So, for all of you out there, you are now in charge of your life. Using words mindfully, you can do anything to help yourself and to help the world around us. Have a wonderful week, everyone. We love you.